What if I told you that the version of truth you've been handed for centuries was edited, cut apart, and rewritten, not to free your mind, but to chain it?
You had Jesus go before the temple and say, you are hypocrites. You're taxing people, burdening people, you're enslaving people to usury. You need to get out of this insanity.
What if the oldest Bible on earth, the Ethiopian Bible, preserved the very teachings of Christ that the world was never meant to see?
Now what's also taken place on an extremely beautiful, wonderful level of revelation is the Ethiopian Bibles that have just come out.
For 4,000 years, men have twisted divine law into a tool of obedience, not liberation. They took the words of the Master and stripped them of their power.
That's what he said. That was the message. Come out of her, my people, lest ye be infected by her insanity, hypocrisy, and plagues. And that's where we stand today.
Hiding the truth that man was never meant to serve fear, nor bow before institutions, nor crawl in submission to the illusions of authority.
Hey guys, welcome back. That was my longtime friend, Dr. Len Horowitz, the prolific author and health practitioner. And guys, the Holy Spirit was definitely with us during this conversation. God is on our side. Friends, thanks so much for being here. Before we start, just a quick word about a terrific sponsor. I think the bottom for gold and silver may be in here in July. How much of your wealth exists only as a number on a screen? And what happens if one day you wake up and you're locked out of your own life? No cash, no card, no access. Just a message on a screen telling you to wait. That's why smart Americans are turning to Noble Gold Investments to own something real, something tangible. Real wealth in physical form is physical gold and physical silver. Coins you can hold, a bar you can stack, an asset that doesn't live on a server and can't be frozen by a keystroke, and it can never be erased by code. Visit our friends at noblegoldinvestments.com and learn how easy it is to own physical gold and silver shipped directly to your door or held in a tax-advantaged retirement account. And here's the special part. To celebrate America's 250th, just mention SGT Report when you call Noble Gold, and they'll send you a free 10-ounce silver bar when you open a new qualified account. Just mention SGT and they'll take care of the rest. That's it. Visit noblegoldinvestments.com. In an increasingly digital world, you should own something real. The link is below. Hey friends, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sean from SGT Report. Guys, what you're looking at on my screen is my site, thephaser.com, and a must-watch clip from Professor Anthony Sutton, Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. Let me click on this and advise you all to go find it. You know, the real history they don't teach in schools. Well, history repeats itself, doesn't it, folks? We're going to talk about that in detail on this call with my friend, Dr. Len Horowitz. Here's his website, and I do need to call attention to this. A brilliant website, 528radio.com. That was Yes.
Yes.
The name of the album, I think, is Fragile, right? Am I right? Fragile, yes. By the way, an incredible song we were just listening to, tuned to 528. Len Horowitz, God bless you. Every single song, the songs people love, classic rock, pop, soul, folk, country, it's all here, gospel, and it's all tuned to 528, the real frequency, God's frequency.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm completely enjoying it. I work with it. I work out with it every day. People who are just in workplaces and enjoying music in the background, it's fantastic. It's therapeutic. It's the 528 frequency, and there's about 1,800 tracks, my favorite tracks of my age, you know, classic rock, especially, like you say, gospel, soul, blues. It's really a broad, eclectic station of my favorite hits. I hope people appreciate my selections, but there's 1,800 of them that have been transposed into the frequency of love, 528 frequency, which we can talk about during the show.
Yeah, very good. And hey, Rockefeller Rockefeller family, y'all are demons. You're demon creatures, and you've stolen so much from us. We should at least take back the correct frequencies of music. Dr. Len Horowitz, revolutionary television site, revolutiontelevision.net. Let's give a middle finger to YouTube and all their censorship. That's just a few of the sites. Now, I want to go back, though, and I want to remind people of the Bolshevik Revolution, in which tens of millions of Christians were slaughtered. Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing new under the sun, nothing new at all. And here's Klaus Schwab, who has a bust of Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin in his office. See, as noted by Ryan over on X, the Bolsheviks never ended. They just regrouped and rebranded. And they're coming back for more, folks. They're coming back for more, which leads me to this current news, which I do want to share from Owen Schroyer, who used to be with InfoWars. I think he cues this up quite nicely. Len, listen to this.
This is why they put Darlene Graham to replace Lindsey Graham. This is why they are lying about whatever the hell is going on with Mitch McConnell. Because when this gets to the Senate, Israel needs those 2 votes. Israel, who runs our government, needs Mitch McConnell's vote and needs Lindsey Graham's vote. Because when this deal gets to the Senate, it could be a 1 or 2 vote that it passes or not. This thing is going to be razor thin at the Senate. So the Israeli lobby that owns our Congress, they got to make sure they've got Mitch McConnell's vote to merge our militaries. They've got to make sure they've got Lindsey Graham's vote to merge our militaries. So they're lying about Mitch McConnell's health, and they forced you to accept Darlene Graham to replace Lindsey instead of a real candidate.
I'll pause it there. Len, what we're talking about here is the NDAA with Section 219, which the House passed as you and I are having this conversation. That happened on July 22nd. It will move on to the Senate, but the deck is stacked. And I want to dig in a little further to this and a couple of more tweets. But Len, I want your thoughts on what we have left as a government, a quasi-government. I would say that we have a pretense of a government at this point. We don't actually have a government by and for the people with actual representatives who carry out the duties and the desires of the people. It seems like we're being betrayed at every turn, and many are calling this treason. Len Horowitz, your thoughts?
I'm in agreement with the conclusion that you've just reached. There's a shadow government that's operating. There is really no substantial direction that our legislators are advancing without the backing of, like you mentioned a couple minutes ago, you've got the Rockefellers, which, by the way, the Rockefellers partnered with the Rothschilds. Rockefellers are not Jewish. Rothschilds are obviously Jewish. Israel is under the same thumb of the globalists that you mentioned. For example, Klaus Schwab. Currently, you have the Blackstone officials. You've got substituting now as president of the World Economic Forum is Larry Fink. Fink is Jewish. So you could say, okay, there's a lot of Jews that are involved. I'm Jewish, but I, happen to be a Messianic Jew proudly. But the fact of the matter is I was raised by Orthodox Jews. I understand that there's a Jewish mafia. I understand that there's an Italian mafia. I understand that there's an Irish mafia. I understand that there's a Japanese mafia and a Chinese mafia and a Russian mafia. So there's underworld. But I would have to conclude, based on the information of MI6 and its collaboration into intimate connection to Central Intelligence Agency operating to destroy the United States from within with this communistic threat that you've articulated, I would have to say that this is a globalist racketeering enterprise. We're dealing with a corrupt, literally satanic, and I don't even use that word sensationally. If we get engaged in the discussion about the quantum God lecture that I've just given in Massachusetts, you have to integrate this understanding that this is forces of evil. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. Money, power corrupts, absolutely. Now you're dealing with demonic. And this is what the satanic sorcerers are engaged with Big Pharma, which now is engaged with big tech, which now is engaged in nano, neuro, bio, electronic technologies, injectables that basically enable complete control in real time over a human being and we the people, 24/7, 365. So that's the bigger picture, and I am concerned because I'm a veteran of having survived what's called COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program, which absolutely is based on behavioral science manipulation of the population using the divide to conquer scheme, which is articulated when you're going to be blaming, let's say, blaming Israel or blaming the United States or blaming China or blaming Russia or blaming the Ukraine or blaming Iran. That's all bunk. The reality is that there's one criminal racketeering enterprise, classically defined by law, that has a pattern and practice of abusing every nation and every people likewise. So anyway, that's my position.
Well, I can always count on you for candor and, in my view, accuracy. You've got a good understanding of history, and sadly, the plebs don't. The plebs don't know what Bolsheviks are. They don't know what the Bolshevik Revolution was, and many of the plebs can't even tell you how many states we have in what used to be our beloved republic. And I want to go back to this because these people need to be held accountable. Now, I don't know who's going to hold them accountable. It should be we the people, but when the apparatus of all of our government structures have essentially been hijacked and taken from us, including the DOJ and the FBI, I'm not sure how there will be justice, how they'll be held accountable. But good old Tim here, Tim Burchett, he's lying by omission. He says he voted no on the NDA, but here's the truth. And I learned this from Marjorie Taylor Greene. They got these weird rules that happen with these damn things. And while Tim voted yes on the NDA in rules, when he had the opportunity to stop it, and then only voted no when it didn't matter and he knew it would pass anyway, F you, Tim, sincerely, you made it all possible by voting yes in rules. And that's new to me. I don't know how this works. I've not been in Congress. But generally, according even to Grok here, while Representative Burchett voted no on final passage of the NDAA, official House roll call records show he voted aye or yes on House Resolution 1438, roll call 254, on July 21st. Passing this rule blocked standalone debate and a direct amendment vote on Section 219. Folks, they're all bought and paid for. The only one with the purity of conviction seems to be Thomas Massie. NDAA Section 219, the merging, the fusion of aspects of the U.S. military with aspects of Israel's intelligence and military. In my view, Len, not only is this a coup, it's the final coup. It is the nail in our coffin, our collective coffin, because once the U.S., the Pentagon, the Department of War is essentially under the control of Israel to some extent, then this country will do Israel's bidding. Our military will essentially do Israel's bidding straight into World War III, and I don't know how else to see it. Len Horowitz, am I being hyperbolic?
No, but let's take, for example, your point. Let's presume that Israel is controlling the United States federal government. That doesn't even make any sense in the big picture because, again, you see, as we mentioned, you have Rockefeller family, which their modus operandi, their criminal enterprise has been stabbing people in the back, and they're not Jews. They're Christians, supposedly. And then you have, again, the Rothschild clan, which were devastated during World War II and the Holocaust, which is interesting that you have a Jewish mafia basically financing Hitler. It's unreasonable. But what happened is that the Rothschilds heavily recovered, and that currently they're, I would say, secondarily in control. And you have the old money that's tied into the Rothschild League of Banks and the Rockefeller League, which basically is this whole British communist currently. It's turned communist, the Bolshevik Revolution, like you mentioned. This was a heavy anti-Semitic operation. And likewise, today, the same old. Racketeering enterprises are defined in law as those criminal operations that have a pattern and practice. Like you said in the beginning of this show, history's repeating. If you don't know history, if it's been concealed, and basically now we have to deal with what we don't even know for sure. That's part of the pattern and practice. It's based on behavioral science, what's called the Hegelian dialectic. They confuse everything. They have a thesis, the antithesis, and then confusion, mass confusion. People drop out. They become absolutely incapable of doing anything reasonable to remedy the problems. So this is what we're facing. And it is all clearly, in my opinion, and I bring a spiritual, theological, as well as mathematical, basic scientific explanation to the resolution, to the remedy, because the remedy is in God's hands, and most wonderfully, the Creator and Jesus, Yeshua, is moving forward currently. There's much evidence of that. You have this whole Renaissance. You have this complete revival that's taking place in the Judeo-Christian religious communities, partially because you have literally the Islamic radicalists basically saying that they want to kill all the Jews and kill all the Americans and kill the United States, destroy. You have insanity. This is demonic. It's all demonic, and it's been imposed through the media. The media, which delivers the message, which delivers the transformation of the culture into this demonic imposition. This is what's taking place through your hypnotronic television screens. This is what's taking place whenever we tune in. Hypnosis, I remind everyone that hypnosis is classically defined in medicine as relaxation coupled with a clear channel for communication. Now, isn't that exactly what you are getting when you're sitting back in your living room and watching television? Relaxed, you're open to a clear channel, you're open to programming, the programmers, the anchors, using a neurolinguistic programming to anchor this stupidity into us to dumb us down. Now, the solution is actually now happening. My presentation that I just gave, I was honored to give a presentation initially titled "You Are the Music." Now it's titled, I've retitled it because it's an hour and 22-minute virtually feature-length video. It's my best. I've produced hundreds of videos over the years. I have 3 of them that are award winners. And this, I believe, is the best because it delivers the greatest news, which is how God works musically, mathematically, currently, to literally enable us to gain this intelligence similar to, or even better than, artificial intelligence. And what now the big Trump administration announcement, we're moving into quantum computing. When we engage in this level of intelligence, the superior general artificial intelligence that quantum computers can administer, now you're literally dealing in the quantum realm. That's the spiritual realm. That's the etheric realm. That's God's realm. That's Jesus's realm. And so when you start to now engage that, we have to bring this understanding, because the remedy is exactly as Jesus preached. And I tell you that as a Jew who was trained in the Orthodox religion. I am claiming that Jesus was right on the money. Everything that he said, everything that he did, everything that he demonstrated, including the miraculous healings, used and heralded this technology of what's called musical mathematics. God's language is math. That's frequency. That's why I tuned 1,800 tracks in 528radio.com into the 528 frequency. That's why I developed devices and electroceutical products on healthyworldstore.com that apply this intelligence practically for therapy. This is where the solution lies. And I'm thrilled, I'm honored, I'm privileged to bring this good news, which is the modern gospel, to the forefront with fellow brothers, intelligent people like you, Sean.
Well, thank you. Flattery will get you everywhere. Your check is in the mail, my friend. All right. Well, I want to hear about the Quantum God lecture. And I know you gave that 2 weeks ago in Cape Cod, and it was very, very well received. Guys, I don't know much about this, so we're going to circle back to that. But I do want to just put a finer point on what we were discussing a second ago. And I completely agree with Len. Biblical truth, okay, God spoke it into existence, Genesis. Dr. Emoto's water and ice experiments have shown us quite clearly that frequencies of healing and creation are real, and intent, spiritual intent, intent of the heart can impact lives around us. In fact, our own lives, our own world, our own worldview. But I just want to get back to this, and I want to make the point Len kind of did. The Pentagon, the Department of War, the U.S. military won't be Israel's military. It will be Rothschild's military. And as David Icke notes, by the way, here is Lord Jacob Rothschild bragging about their state of Israel in 1948 due to the Balfour Declaration, of which they're extremely proud.
And it begins with 3 words. Dear Lord Rothschild.
Dear Lord Rothschild, I have much pleasure in conveying to you, on behalf of His Majesty's government, the following declaration of sympathy with Jewish Zionist aspirations.
Did you get that, guys? Jewish Zionist aspirations. And by the way, it is David Icke who fleshes out the real histories. Cut the crap, Jacob. This is what really happened. Lord Lionel Walter Rothschild was the power behind a secret group called the Round Table based in London from the late 19th century. This was created for the Rothschilds by their gopher Cecil Rhodes, who plundered South Africa for them, and the gold, guys, De Beers, that's Cecil Rhodes, that's Rothschild. They cornered the diamond industry and the diamond mining and artificially propped up diamond prices. By the way, that's all crashing now due to artificially created diamonds. But Rhodes was the first head of the Round Table, which had an inner circle member called Lord Arthur Balfour, who was a British foreign secretary. Lord Arthur Balfour, the Balfour Declaration. Guys, Israel equals Rothschild. Make no mistake. And I want to show you guys one other thing. I was watching this last night, and I won't make you watch the entire thing. Go find it, though, if you can. Dre, over on X, has this to say about the NDAA and the bunker under Trump's ballroom, guys. How about that in Palantir? Is this the future we want for our children?
100 National Defense Authorization Act for the fiscal year of 2027. And there's this provision in it that's called Section 224, the U.S.-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative. It's 500 plus pages, so it covers a lot, but it lays out exactly which domains our two militaries are wanting to fuse together. You know, things like artificial intelligence, quantum, machine learning, and data fusion. I'm sorry, U.S. of Israel say what now? In fact, there is a whole separate section just dedicated to expanding the U.S.-Israel underground collaboration, the subterranean cooperation. And this collaboration is supposed to go through 2029, you know, the same year the facility is supposed to be ready. Now let's talk through what this means in a practical sense, right? Because I think when most people hear military fusion, they're picturing soldiers like the IDF and the US military marching together, holding guns together, and walking around the Pentagon together. And that's not what modern warfare is. Modern warfare is autonomous warfare. It's AI. And AI comes down to needing training data. So whoever has the most data to train these AI warfare systems on has the most powerful system. And the most valuable data for military AI is population level biometric and behavioral data. And Israel had already collected that kind of data from its own citizens, and then on top of that collected it from every Palestinian. And well, we saw what American AI tools did with that. And now add American biometric data on top of the Palestinian data and Israeli data, and you have one of the largest data sets in the world. And think about what the trade-off here is, because Israel has spent the last 2 years running the most combat-tested military AI on the planet. You know, live targeting systems that were refined in a real war. Meanwhile, the US brings the compute, the contracts, and the infrastructure. Now fuse those together and you get a system that neither country could build alone. And whatever gets built and switched on under that ballroom stays under that ballroom. You know, once Trump leaves office in 2029 and the next president comes in, they don't get to choose what vendors, what data, or whether American military AI has to be permanently fused with some foreign military's AI. They're inheriting a system that's already locked in, hardened underground, and was running before any of us were even able to ask what it was.
All right, guys, if you're still with us, thank you. Thank you for sticking with me on that. Very, very important clip. Len, here's the takeaway. And I'm not being hyperbolic. I think smart money, smart people, people who understand history, people who are dialed in like you and me, might consider getting their families out of this country, because let me tell you this, folks, if there was a plot to turn the keys over to the Bolsheviks, I couldn't write a better narrative than what we're seeing. And if that is the case, and by the way, Len, follow the bloodlines. You know about Prescott Bush's 1930s attempted banker coup with him and his banker buddies. Prescott Bush, his son, George Sr., former director of the CIA, former president of the United States, who discussed the New World Order coming into fruition some 220 times in public speeches to the American people. Follow the bloodlines.
Bank.
Hey, man, and then take a look. I'm sorry, you got Ivanka Trump and Jared Kushner on Nat Rothschild's boat. I'm telling you, man, I'm sorry, the Bolsheviks are here, and it's looking to me like the keys are being handed over to them.
What you're saying is true, and it's based on facts. However, here's this stipulation, that what David Icke, Alex Jones, and the rest of those I have to conclude are counterintelligence agents. What they do, they have to put out some amount of truth. They put out about 80% truth and facts, and that leaves about 20% that they don't cover at all or correctly. Now, what is that in law? That's omissions and misrepresentations. When you omit something substantially significant and or you misrepresent it, that 20% is fraudulent. It's a fraud. And I can tell you, David Icke took everything that I published in 1996 in the definitive textbook, what I became initially famous for or infamous for is the book Emerging Viruses, AIDS and Ebola, Nature, Accident, or Intentional, where I republished the United States government contracts under which numerous AIDS-like, Ebola-like viruses were bioengineered by the Army's 6th top biological weapons contracting lab called Lytton Bionetics. Now, David Icke, I gave him a copy of my book, autographed it for him at a conference. We've spoken many times in many different venues, the same venues, and we were introduced by his agent, booking agent, who was my booking agent. So that's how much I know David Icke. He took my AIDS work, gave me zero credit for it, and came out with it as though it was his. Now, that's not the only beef.
But wait, though, I trust you as an analyst. And by the way, I hear you about David Icke, and I empathize with you. And I'm sorry all that happened. What I'm saying is, please address me and what I'm saying. What I'm seeing is a handover to the Bolsheviks, the Rothschild class, the Rockefeller class, the handover of our government by our bought and paid for Congress critters and senatorial goblins to something the American people don't want, haven't voted for, and it's a complete betrayal. It's treason. And so what I'm saying, and really what I'd like you to address, is the fact that I think smart people who have families they want to protect from perhaps what happened to the Palestinians, if we can't stop this, I'm just saying the writing's on the wall. Do I have that right, or am I wrong? Address my
you
address
have
my
that
charge.
Absolutely right. I'm completely in agreement with that. I'm too old. I'm not going to move. My family's very settled here, and basically I can tell you we're staying. And maybe, just maybe, if I'm right, I'm also seeing the writing on the wall that says God is moving very powerfully and strongly, because the major issues that you raised also in that clip that you played with artificial intelligence, now we're getting into the realm that's not going to please God at all. And you have to have karmic judgment. You can't escape karma in life. The actions that are currently produced for every action, there's a reaction. And in this system that the Creator has created, all of this basically sums to the fact that you have demonic possession. You could claim it's to the Rothschilds individually. I don't buy that. They're complicit in the racketeering enterprise. Yes, they should go to the electric chairs for what they've done with Epstein, with the Epstein files. Tomorrow, I think it is, they're supposed to be interviewing in Congress somebody from JP Morgan Chase, who was Epstein's banker, private banker. You look at the Chase, look at the Rockefellers, look at the Rothschilds, but they're puppets to the global industrialists. If you look back at the Bolshevik Revolution, there were 3 kings at the time who were cousins. You had the Russian Tsar, who was undermined by King Edward of England, and you had the German Tsar who wanted to conquer everything, including the United States of America. So that is where we are currently. History's repeating. Yes, America is going communism. It's a virtual Bolshevik revolution with AOC and her insane tribe. But the reality is, I'm looking at what Jesus said.
Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do.
He said, come out of this insanity. Be secured in God's love and judgment that's taking place on a higher level. Now, what's also taking place on an extremely beautiful, wonderful level of revelation is the Ethiopian Bibles that have just come out that talk about, in specifics, what was hidden and buried. You could say by the Levitical priests. Before there was the Rothschilds, there was already corruption of the Jewish temples. You had Jesus go before the temple and say, you are hypocrites. You're taxing people, burdening people. You're enslaving people to usury. You need to get out of this insanity and hypocrisy, and you need to uplift into the kingdom of heaven, which is right here, right now. That's what he said. That was the message. Come out of her, my people, lest ye be infected by her insanity, hypocrisy, and plagues. And that's where we stand today.
Just a quick break to tell you about something every man and red-blooded woman should know about. Testosterone levels are declining at an alarming rate. The result? Diminished strength, low libido, and a loss of the vitality that makes you you. I've been very public about the fact that I like to work out, and I also like to make sure that my testosterone levels match where they were in my 20s. So I take Man's Edge from Neutronics Labs because it's built to help us fight back. They combine fenugreek, IGF-1, NO2, and other powerful ingredients to support healthy testosterone levels naturally. Now, clinical research shows fenugreek alone can increase testosterone by up to 46%. Man's Edge delivers up to 98% absorption, so every ingredient actually works. Right now, you can sign up for AutoShip and save 50% on every single order, plus get a free bottle of IGF-1 plus 300,000 with LongJack. Visit neutronicslabs.com/SGT and use code SGT to save an additional 10% off your first order. Honestly, guys, it never gets too late to reclaim your edge. The link is below.
That's what he said. That was the message. Come out of her, my people, lest ye be infected by her insanity, hypocrisy, and plagues. And that's where we stand today. And so I'm looking at the good news.
Yes.
We could discuss.
No. That's what I want to talk about too, and I think we can make our move. We can segue to the good news because, again, as you know, you hit the nail on the head. We're talking about the exact same thing, okay? Spiritual darkness in high places. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. And just to finalize that part of our conversation regarding Rothschild, I don't know if this history is accurate or not, but I have heard from very smart people who have platforms on X who do documentaries that Rothschild equals Orsini, and Orsini goes all the way back to the days of Nimrod. We're literally talking about biblical bloodlines. So there is nothing new under the sun, and it is spiritual in nature. So let's talk about the good news. What was your Quantum God lecture all about? Let's leave people filled today with hope of the Holy Spirit and a future that is not so negative and terrifying for humanity as the one that I'm seeing.
Yeah, the transition is beautiful and it's clear. With the Ethiopian Bibles now, which were secreted, buried, there's 66 books of King James Version. There's 22 hidden books in the Ethiopian Bible. It talks about what you're talking about. The hidden bloodlines, the fallen angels, they're named. And that this is where then they come in, the whole Bible. And this was what Jesus was preaching to the Ethiopians. Then you see that these now, there were good angels and there were bad angels, demons, and they're still fighting. They're still around. They're still engaged in this operation. And yes, there were Rothschilds who were demonically possessed. This is what Bill Gates is. Bill Gates is not Jewish. Bill Gates is interested in killing at least 15% of the population with mRNA vaccinations that the Trump administration, I'm the greatest critic of. I support Donald Trump, I support Kennedy, but I'm the greatest critic of their Project Stargate that gets into this mRNA vaccination intoxication, using this as a virtual genocidal weapon of mass depopulation. And so now, where do we go? There's no solution in Capitol Hill. You've stated that. As we look out at all the pundits out there on their soapboxes saying, oh, terrible, there's anti-Semitism, the Jews are doing this, Israel's doing this, and Russia's doing that, and China's doing this. It's all the same old, divide and conquer. And I don't buy it anymore. What I am looking at is the solution, which you're asking about. What is quantum God? Quantum God, what is a quantum computer? So my lecture, which is the best of the best, essentially what you have now is you have artificial intelligence that's advancing to what's called superior artificial intelligence that is intended to become self-aware and learns and grows. Well, how long do you think before a smart AI is going to look at the human race and realize that it has extinguished and caused to go extinct a million other species in its insanity, in this fraudulent operation? Well, it's not long. AI is going to conclude that the human beings do not deserve to live anymore. That's what Elon Musk is saying is in the wrong hands. I filed in Elon Musk's case in Northern District, California, to join his effort against Sam Altman, OpenAI, and Bill Gates of Microsoft. He's claiming that putting AI in these people's hands puts us on the verge of extinction. And he knows much more than any of us about what that really means. Now, on the level that I brought to this lawsuit and currently in this video is the realization that God's language is mathematics, frequency, dynamics. I advance even the theory, the thesis, hard to prove, that your soul, your unique soul, is literally programmed just like a computer, mathematically, harmonically, vibrationally, frequencies by God Almighty. And that when Jesus was talking about love and demonstrating it and how it can be a miraculous healing capability, then as the love, the universal healer, he demonstrated, he was talking about the 528 frequency. When he said, I am the way, and the way is narrow, and I am the truth, and I am the life, and there's no other way to God other than through me and through this truth, this way, this life. That's what gives the life, actually. It's the truth is what we're talking about. Mathematics, frequency dynamics, the programming, not of artificial intelligence, but of a human soul that gives you, Sean, all of your gifts, your talents, your communication skills, your passion to be on the air, to do what? To share and save lives, to help people realize what's happening. That's an internal programming that God instilled in your heart. That's your soul's programming. Now, if you understand that, now you take what Jesus said as the next step. You come out of the hypocrisy, out of the insanity, out of the debate, whether it's the Jews conquering the planet or whether it's some extraterrestrials. You come out of that insanity that we're never going to have an answer to. The only answer is what Jesus preached. I tell you that as a virtually trained as an Orthodox Jew, because he was right on the money. Now, what did he say? On the way. What's the way? The way is to God. What is the truth? The truth is that God's programming us, programming everything. Look at the universe. Everything is in balance. It's not going into chaos like planet Earth is. No. We are on a demonically possessed earthly domain. So you can move to various nations. You're not going to get out of the impositions that your own spiritual burden imposes. God has us in life by a blessing of life, dealing with whatever we need to learn. Choose wisely. Exercise our will, the great gift that God gave the human being to make informed choices for our highest good, highest benefit, always involving love by really most people are born, incarnated with a loving heart, just like God has a loving heart. Jesus has a loving heart. Always forgiving, forgiving. That's what it's all about. And the reality is when we do what Jesus said, we uplift, we actually get a tune up into this dimension. Now, again, we're talking about music, musical mathematics, frequency dynamics. We tune up into that glorious realm, fundamental of which is faith. You can't have any of this if you don't have faith in God. You can't have any of it if you don't have faith in Jesus. You can't have a relationship. The beauty and benefits come out of the faithful, loving intention in the relationship that's expressed. Now, that's how I defeated cancer, by the way, by understanding this and applying it.
I have revealed the original solfeggio musical scale to save souls.
Particularly with 528 frequency.
I am here to heal people and save souls with God's love frequency of life.
I claim is pure tone love, the universal healer. So that's the solution. The lecture that I gave, The Quantum God, draws the parallel. We are currently at a precipice right here. We're at really the end times, big time scenario. You've got total demonic impositions. We agree on that. Now, the next step, God is not going to be, the king of the universe is not going to sit back and let we, the good people, under contract with God. We have a contract. Now, that's the Ethiopian Bible book called the Book of Contracts. All of this has been corroborated with the Dead Sea Scrolls. So the reality is now it's corroborated intelligence fundamental to spirituality and the dynamics by which we live and exist, celebrate our lives, be productive, serve each other in meaningful ways. This is the programming. So your gifts, your talents, the way you speak, the way your language, it's all mathematics, all frequency dynamics. And that's the great news, is that quantum, when you start to engage in the quantum computer now, you're not talking about bits. You're not talking about the language. These are language processors. AI is a language processor. And you're not just talking about, with quantum computers, bits, zeros or ones. No, you're talking about qubits. What's a qubit? Somewhere in between. They don't know for sure. It may be a zero at some point. It may be a one at some point. It's all over the place. So it engages the quantum field. It engages the spiritual realm. This is God's realm. This is where the parallel dimensions, the angels are, the demons are. They're embattled like we are, we the people, against the evil forces. As it is in heaven, so is it on earth. That's what's happening in the parallel dimensions. This is a spiritual warfare. But absolute certainly, the king of the universe, the creator, is not going to allow this experiment, let's call it an experiment on earth, to die out. And the human race, the beautiful children of the creator, who is intended in the end of the Bible, we see who wins in the end, intended to inherit this earth and bring 1,000 years of world peace.
Amen. Amen. Well, look, you and I know how the story ends. The problem is the tribulations between now and then. And every human being, every American, had better pull themselves up by the bootstraps and get off the couch and start doing something, lest we all become refugees. By the way, the Ethiopian Bible, I think I might order this from Audible, the audio version, containing the Book of Enoch, Jubilees, the Ethiopic Creed, Adam and Eve, Lost Gospels. Guys, I've heard about the Ethiopian Bible, and I guess I'd ask you this, Len, where would you recommend? Do you recommend a specific one that people buy or get access to?
Actually, for free, I recommend right tonight, go onto YouTube and just put in a search engine, Ethiopian Bible documentary. You're going to get now probably a dozen, certainly a half dozen outstanding documentaries that have already been produced, going into detail. And basically that, I think, is very, very absorbable and really wonderful to do. it's an introduction. And then, of course, if you're a scholar, a good researcher, you'll go directly into the source references.
Well, that's a good suggestion. I appreciate that. And the good news is, I think we can leave people with good news. The good news is the world is waking up to the fact that what we are facing globally is a spiritual war that has now manifested itself in our physical reality. And again, guys, I'd really highly recommend people watch this, Wall Street and the Bolshevik Revolution. You can dig for it over on my site, thephaser.com. But man, is Professor Anthony C. Sutton well informed on the real history, as is Dr. Len Horowitz. Here's his website. By the way, guys, Len has more websites than I do. I've got thephaser.com, thelibertymill.com, and SGTReport.com. Len's got this one, 528radio.com, all for free. The Healthy World Shop is the place to go if you want to support this fine man. Maybe you should sell some Ethiopian Bibles here, Len.
Yeah, I can't take on any more products. I've already got some wonderful things that have been coming from this greater understanding that we're talking about frequency dynamics and its impact on health. It's amazing. Stem cells actually differentiate into the tissues needed for recovery via frequency. And the 528 frequency, the color that you see behind me here, that's Aurora Borealis. The heart of sunshine is 528 green frequency. And so it's the heart of the sun, it's the heart of the rainbow. It's obviously as above, so below. If it's true for the heart of sun and rainbows, it's true for your heart, my heart, the Creator's heart. And so that's this concept. Now, how do we apply this? Well, very easily. You can go to healthyworldshop.com. You can see I've applied it with, for example, oxysilver with 528 to replace all vaccinations, all toxic antibiotics. They're all toxic. They're all, it's ridiculous what's taking place at the pharmacies today. Come get your free vaccines. Why do they give the free vaccines? Because it's inducing all these side effects, and they're going to make a vast profit off of humanity's suffering. So this is really what Jesus prescribes. You come out of that insanity and you engage God and God's glory and the dimensions by which Creator creates. It is musical mathematics that you can apply in daily life, in clinical practice, in consumer products. This is an revolution in consciousness. I did another video, because I had so many times. Do you ever see, Sean, I'm going to ask you a question too. You ever see 1111 come up in your digital displays frequently?
That used to happen to me a lot when I was younger in high school. Not so much anymore. And it's weird. What was happening to me for a long time too is I would look at the clock at exactly the same time every single day. That happened for a while. It could be 11:33 at night, that type of thing, but repeatedly.
Interesting. 11:33. Did you know that 33, of course, is double that? You got 66. Double that, you've got 132. Double that, you got 264. Double that, you got 528, bro.
Interesting.
Yeah, you see, the video I put out, it's up on YouTube, it's up on revolutiontelevision.net and on Substack. It's the 1111 mystery solved. I asked my audiences, how many of you have had this 1111 thing happen to you? And about 60% of the audience raised their hands. Now, 60%, that's a high number, actually. And what does it mean? Creator God, Jesus, is trying to communicate to you saying, look, I operate musically, mathematically, and the 1111 is indicative of 111, that's the Trinity, and the other one, guess what? That's the bride. That's us. That's we the people who get it, who wake up, who elevate our consciousness to this divine spiritual level so that now therein you can't die. You can't die until it's time for you to die. God's got it programmed. Sean, I can tell you honestly, I should have died at least 6 times. I could tell you the stories. Maybe some night we'll sit down at a bar, have a beer, and I'll tell you my stories. By the grace of God and protective angels, I'm still here. I'm still doing this work. But if you look at how I could have survived car accidents and totally unbelievable experiences, I came out alive unscratched. What? Impossible. Only by the grace of God. Now, how do you explain that? in physics. You have this whole quantum dimension, and you have parallel, literally, universes. You have parallel dimensions of space-time. My dear friend and colleague, Vernon Neppy, Dr. Vernon Neppy, and Edward Close, he passed away recently. They published numerous publications in the scientific literature, award-winning publications, in fact, showing that we have at least 9 dimensions of space-time right here, right now, around us. And that is literally also part of the mathematics of understanding and proving God's existence and, even better, our own soul, our soul's programming and our soul's continuation after death. Now, isn't that interesting? Science proving the continuation of the soul after death. How does that fit to what you and I know as Christians? It fits because God knew us before we were born. Obviously, if he's going to program our souls, when you go into YouTube, you can also look at the inception of an egg, the fertilization by sperm. At that moment of inception, you have an explosion of zinc. What were we told to take during COVID for boosting immunity? Zinc. Oh, and light. Light. What am I prescribing? 528 frequency green light, which science has proven, slam dunk, is therapeutic. It heals all sorts of diseases. Again, love is the universal healer. I've published 528 being the universal healing constant and the grand unification healing paradigm. Get that. 528, the universal healing constant in the grand unification healing paradigm. That's one of my scientific peer-reviewed publications. I published in a biotechnology journal. These are scientific facts that support everything you and I know and we preach. This whole concept of God. God is coming through right now. Evidenced by the people who raised their hands. 60% of us said, yeah, I'm getting communication out of this divine, realm, and it's meaningful. Well, what's the meaning? That's the trick. And that meaning is connected to what Socrates preached, know thyself. If you know thyself fully, then you know God is in you. Jesus is in you right here, right now, in your heart. And it's a matter of literally acknowledging that they're there by contract. It's a blood covenant, a blood contract from the inception. And that is literally the spiritual divine communion, communication, the capability of this, what I consider the zone of bliss, the clear channel broadcast of pure bliss. And we see it demonstrated in various music, in orchestras, in vocalists. We see them communing divinely. We see young children on America's Got Talent, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. Suddenly they open their mouth and they're singing like they're about 40 years old with magnificent voices. How is that possible? Other than what I'm advancing is the thesis here. You're programmed by soul, and soul continues after death. There's death, there's rebirth. This whole concept of past life regression therapy and analysis. I've done a lot of research in that field. I've published in scientific peer-reviewed literature in that field also. The reality is we have souls that continue, and we're here to learn some big lessons. Right now, we're learning how can we create peace on earth.
I'm here, brother, and I'm listening. And I'm thinking about the zone of bliss. And one thing I wanted to share with the audience, I was watching on YouTube, something was offered up to my feed the other day. I'm going to show you what I'm looking at on my screen as we're talking about this. And you triggered this thought with the zone of bliss. I was listening to an incredible group, an enormous choir led by a conductor who was obviously held in high esteem. And they were singing in a foreign language. I don't remember if it was Albanian, but it was just glorious. They were singing the Lord's Prayer together, and it is one of the most powerful things. I wanted to play it here for the audience, and I can't find it. But no words spoken on this show have been more true than the ones you just spoke, Len. God is in you. God is in all of us. And I'll tell you, as somebody who's struggled with sons, well, I know a lot better now what God's love means. We're always there for our children. We're always there for our children, even when they screw up, even when they fall and falter, even the ones, you got moms out there with sons sitting in prisons. They still love their sons and they long for the return of their sons. And when the sons do come home through the front door and re-embrace mom and dad, like the prodigal son, the parents are there just like God is there for us, waiting for us to return to him with a capital H, the glory of the Father. That's the way I see it, Len. And everybody listening, I want everybody to know that. God is waiting for you. Jesus is waiting for you to return. Just reach out. He's waiting. He's right there, guys.
Yeah. And it's only just like you and your children. They come home from school having created beautiful things. You're so proud. You feel so proud. God is likewise. And then God awaits us to just give what we hope our children will give us. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Mom. You have been such a wonderful support. It comes down to that. When my father passed, I was the only member of the family there, bedside, when he was just about to leave his body. And that was the words out of my mouth. Dad, thank you so much for all the gifts that you've given me, so many blessings you've bestowed on me. I love you dearly. I said, you're going to go. I literally told him this. I said, Dad, you're going to go into the next realm. This is a beautiful realm, and I will be joining you. I love you. God bless you. And that was the end of it. He passed about 3 minutes later.
You're blessed to have had that time with him. You're blessed to have had that time with him. That's a great story. And I'll tell you, life is short, folks. It would be better for you to tie a millstone around your neck than hurt one of these little ones that believeth in me. As we round out the conversation, I just want to say, I think what I'm feeling and what I tried to convey, given the potentiality of another Bolshevik revolution, but in this country, Bolshevik Revolution 2.0, I just want to make the point, Len, that when there is no more justice or pretense of justice, when Epstein's clients go free, and Fauci and Gates and Borla walk free, when what actually happened in Butler, Pennsylvania is covered up, when what actually happened to Charlie Kirk, the open-air assassination of Charlie Kirk, when that's covered up, to me, it is the powers that be. Oh, and by the way, when Epstein walks free, I think Epstein's alive. I think they jailbroke him. My point is, the powers that ought not be are telling the people, we're in charge. What you going to do about it? By the way, guys, regarding the Ethiopian Bible and what Jesus really taught his followers, listen to the beginning of this. Len, your suggestion was a good one, straight from YouTube.
What if I told you that the version of truth you've been handed for centuries was edited, cut apart, and rewritten, not to free your mind, but to chain it? What if the oldest Bible on earth, the Ethiopian Bible, preserved the very teachings of Christ that the world was never meant to see? For 4,000 years, men have twisted divine law into a tool of obedience, not liberation. They took the words of the Master and stripped them of their power, hiding the truth that man was never meant to serve fear, nor bow before institutions, nor crawl in submission to the illusions of authority. The truth that was buried is this: Jesus did not come to create worshipers. He came to awaken creators. His message was not about suffering for heaven, but about mastering heaven within. He did not teach the weak to beg. He taught the strong to command. And that teaching, my friend, was dangerous, because a man who knows his oneness with infinite intelligence cannot be ruled.
Len?
Beautiful
word. Yeah, isn't it? It's just, I'm definitely going to listen to that entire thing, because there's history that I obviously don't know. It's history that's been hidden from so many of us. And frankly, the fake history is leading us straight to World War III. You know, the whole idea, the Schofield Bible thing with the Rothschilds. Bless Israel and ye too shall be blessed. Curse Israel and ye too shall be cursed. Well, are we talking about the Rothschilds? Are we talking about the state of Israel in 1948, that Israel? Are we talking about the people of Israel, the biblical people of Israel? Folks, crazy, crazy times. Len, I'll give you the final word, and I really do appreciate catching up with you.
Yeah, thank you, Sean. Yeah, exactly as you say. It's too confusing. We're never going to make, heads or tails of what's really, really going down geopolitically, economically on this planet, held in the hands of these demons. So what you have is example. you have this concept of Zionism. That's exactly what was in the segment, total distortion, where it is currently. What people think when you say the word Zionists, you have all sorts of thoughts on all different conflicting levels that are not right. Go into history. Go back originally. What was Zionist? Where did the term come from? It came from the understanding that there was a place where the lion lied down with the lamb, where you have peace on earth, where you no longer have fear, you no longer have conquest, or this insatiable desire for wealth and power. No, you literally engage what Jesus was all about, uplifting into the truth, into the way of God, and that gives us the life. And there's no other way. You can't get it by, basically investing on Wall Street. No, you've got to get it in your heart. And that's the end.
That's a beautiful ending, and I appreciate you so much. Guys, the links are below. If you want to support Len, you know how to do it. HealthyWorldStore.com is probably the number one way to do that. And you'd be foolish not to take advantage of 528. Is it 528.com, Len?
There's 528therapy.com. That's a new website, 528therapy.com. And here's a tip. Go down, scroll down on the home page to the bottom. There are 2 audio tracks. One is 528 pure tone. The other is 417-528. That's binaural. So you get one frequency in one ear, the other frequency, the other ear. What in the center, you're going to get 111. That's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And then scroll a little bit further down, you'll see a green color swatch. And then what happens is if you fill your screen and put on the audio, you'll have green radiating your body, 528 radiating your body. Put it in the places where you need healing, and then have the vibration. You can handheld on an iPad or even a laptop. I use a laptop for my cancer therapy. When I defeated cancer, I literally held my iPad with the green color radiating my body. And then particularly it was in the area of my will force chakra, my lower chakra system, which was where my cancer was, and basically disappeared. I've now had 6 months, 3-month visits to my oncologist. Everything's clean. I'm doing great. And that's what you can do for free on 528therapy.com. And I'm actually right now engaged in developing an app for it. There's also an app on the store. I'm not sure how it works well yet. It's pretty much new. And it's a web designed to do the same thing that the app is going to do.
Let me hop back over here, guys. I was showing 528radio.com. You can listen commercial free. But the other one, 528therapy.com, that's what he was referring to about the color swatch and whatnot. Well, you're a generous soul, and we appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much for your time today. We do love you.
Love you, Sean. God bless you. Keep it up. Keep doing what you do. I love it.
Oh, thanks, brother. Keep hacking at the root of tyranny, guys. That's our job. We only get one life to live, and it's
Amen.
Short. It's short, brother. I'm in my 50s. I can tell you how short it is, folks.
Yeah, I can relate, boy. I'll tell you. The good news is that you come to terms with your mortality.
Yeah.
You realize, okay, my time is almost up, so I got to get it right. And the best thing is to love every minute and project that love into your loved ones and family, friends.
Yeah, well said. All right, there he goes, Len Horowitz, Dr. Len Horowitz. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sean. God bless you.
God bless you. And friends, we appreciate you too. Thank you. As you know, we do have websites for you as well. SGTReport.com, thephaser.com, and thelibertymill.com. Thanks for your support there. And until next time, may God, the loving creator, may he continue to bless you and yours, folks. Bye-bye.